Canola School on RealAgriculture.com is brought to you by Alberta Canola Producers Commission, SAS Canola, and Manitoba Canola Growers.
We are joined here on RealAgriculture.com now by Holly Derksen, the plant pathologist with Manitoba Agriculture, Food and Rural Development. And Holly, Clubroot is something that's really come to the forefront over the last couple of years for canola growers here in Manitoba. It's been an issue, of course, in Alberta for many years. Maybe bring us up to speed on what the status is right now in Manitoba when it comes to finding Clubroot in our soil.
Sure. So in 2014, we did our canola disease survey once again, and we didn't find any more symptoms in the field like we had seen in 2013. And as far as the soil samples that we take, we're still waiting on those results. But of course, in 2013, we did have 2 fields where we did see samples, and in one case, it was maybe more severe or symptoms than we expected. So obviously that's bringing it more to the forefront for growers and making it a little bit more real to them that this is a disease issue that we have in Manitoba. Also in 2014 we finally released a map showing which RMs have tested positive for Clubroot. So this is both the ones that we have seen symptoms, but also where we're finding the DNA in the soil. So there have been 10 RMs that have been tagged as positive for Clubroot, 13 fields in total.
And there's work underway now to actually test every township range in agricultural Manitoba.
So an initiative with MARN and Growing Forward 2 and the Manitoba Canola Growers is looking at testing every township range. Right now, with such a small sample of fields that we have tested, so we know that these are 10 RMs, but there's most likely a lot more out there, but we've only tested a small percentage. So now we're aiming to test every township range. We've started taking samples in the fall, and we'll continue in the spring, and hopefully we'll be updating the map continually so that the results will be available to the public.
So the RM map has been released. Can you explain the decision process, how you decide how much information to give on where the actual locations of the positive tests
Right. So right now we are just identifying RMs individually, and a big reason for that is because we have tested such a small sample. That's why it took us a long time even to say, it's in the province and then to tell you which regions, because we felt like it was kind of unfair to those regions and RMs because it was such a small percentage that we were testing. It's basically luck of the draw that we were finding it. So we're hoping, with more samples, we'll have a more fair representation of where it is in the province. So at some point we will move forward from just RMs to actually identifying how many fields in the RM. We won't tell you the township range, but maybe they'll identify this RM has had 3 fields that tested positive. We might even specify concentrations where 1 has been at a higher concentration and 2 have been at moderate concentrations. But that's in the future. It remains to be seen exactly when that will happen.
So it's an issue where too little information can actually be misleading.
Yes, exactly. So even we're struggling with the RMs where a grower can see that he, maybe is 5 RMs away from any positive finding. Well, then does he sit there and go, well, I don't even have to worry about it. We still want everyone, to get tested. That's our main goal here, not just with our sampling, but for growers to take the initiative and test themselves.
Talking about concentrations then, the spore loads that we're seeing here in Manitoba, how do they compare with what they have in Alberta?
For the most part, they're a lot lower. Well, for all over, they're a lot lower. In Alberta, I'm not even sure if they even look for concentrations anymore. They basically just find Clubroot in the field and there you go. It's a positive field. They don't test the soil anymore. But the general feeling out there is that you need 100,000 spores per gram of soil to see symptoms consistently in the field. We had that field that tested, or that showed the symptoms in the field, and that was at 89,000 spores per gram of soil. So really close to the 100,000 mark, obviously, and we were seeing symptoms, but most of them are much lower than that. And a number of them actually are below the range where we can quantify, which is about 1,000 grams or 1,000 spores per gram of soil.
Along with the work that's being done to survey all the township ranges, there's also been some funding put into creating a lab here in Manitoba instead of having to send samples to Alberta?
Exactly. So these samples that are being, the township range samples that are coming in are actually being run in Manitoba at this new Pest Surveillance Initiative lab, which is in Winnipeg. And it's going to be set up to do the same PCRs that they do in Alberta and be able to test these soils at this low concentration and detect what's there. And this is also going to be available for growers in the future to be able to send in samples and get them tested there.
So if a grower suspects they might have Clubroot, what kind of process should they go through?
Even if they don't suspect they have Clubroot, they should be testing their soils to see if it's there, because obviously we want them detecting it at a low concentration long before they see symptoms in fields, so they're able to manage and keep that concentration low in the soil. There is right now a workshop that they can do, the CFIA, on-farm biosecurity, something like that, biosecurity program workshop. So in the past, it has been one that's been run by our FPAs, and it's been a workshop that you have to come in and sit through a half-day workshop. But now we're moving towards putting it online, so it'll be about a 15-minute thing that they go through online, and then they're able to collect a rebate from Growing Forward for whatever biosecurity practice they want to implement, and that can be testing their soils for Clubroot.
So how do they go about getting their soils tested?
Right, so they actually, basically we suggest sampling at the field entrance, and you need 1 liter of soil. So what we generally do is a semicircle or a W pattern right at the field entrance, and take it from about 5 spots, collect it all into one bag, one composite sample, and then soon this website for the PSI lab will be up and running, and there'll be information on basically how you drop it off there or send it in there for testing. And when you go to the PSI lab for testing, it's going to go into our database for our map, but there will be no personal information on there, no information about your legal land location or the grower information. It'll just be data for our map, so that we can have as many samples as possible included in there. And if you happen to be in one of the township ranges where we haven't had a sample at this point, it's completely free.
Right. Is there anything in the meantime, or what's the timeline for this lab accepting samples from farmers?
I would say January, February.
Okay, so
soon. Yeah, basically.
So,
In the past, you have been able to send to a number of private labs. I'm not sure if it's one in Manitoba, but the 2020 labs and Discovery labs, BioVision, I believe they all do the soil testing. So, but this will be hopefully something that growers will use, because first of all, it's a local thing, and you're available for this rebate. So, great.
So the message net right now is get tested.
Yeah. I mean, for me, the prophylactic use of the Clubroot resistant varieties, obviously, especially if you're in an RM or you know, because they aren't all secrets out there where these Clubroot findings have been. So if you're close to that, you can always grow Clubroot resistant variety. And in Alberta, they've been quite successful in growing successful canola crops with the Clubroot resistance, but we have started to see them not working where there is this new race or new pathotype that's been detected in Alberta. So we're hesitant to suggest that for everyone as something that everyone should use, because we're pretty sure it's all the same resistance source out there in these resistant varieties. So our number one thing is get tested, find out whether you have it. You can't really make a management plan until you know whether or not you have it.
And then finally, do you think this is a case where we're getting better at testing, or we're looking for it? Is that why we're finding it?
Yeah, absolutely.
This new
Yeah.
pathotype by Edmonton? Or I guess maybe
Well, I think here, the more positive we get, it's not because it's spreading like wildfire. It's just that we're doing more testing and getting better at testing and finding those low levels. In Alberta, it was basically his 3rd time growing a resistant Clubroot variety. Not back to back, but it was a tighter rotation. And basically he was just selecting for that other pathotype out there that was able to still infect that variety. So that just goes to show that this Clubroot resistant variety alone is not enough. You need to, still have a good rotation, practice sanitation techniques and things like that.
All right. Thank you for your time, Holly.
Yes, thanks, Helen.